Hi everyone, Michael with Bad Goblin Games. I'm going to walk you through another short demo for Ages of Conflict. And this one, this particular demo is a little unique. This one, we're matching two forces that are probably about as disparate as you could possibly get. On one side, we have, say, a typical Dark Age to early Middle Age army, and on the other side, we have a much smaller, what we would consider a Sci-Fi force. So we're going to walk through this demo, see how these two mesh together. That is one of the points of Ages of Conflict, is to allow you to play multiple genres simultaneously. Before we actually get into the game, we're going to talk about the armies involved and a couple of the considerations that we have when we're mashing these two genres together. So our first army here we'll talk about is our Dark Age army, or early Middle Age army. And I'm actually just using Bacchus Normans, so I'm just going to refer to these as Normans throughout the game. So it's not really Dark Age, but a close enough approximation, I think. So what we have are two big blocks here of standard infantry. We have some archers. And just to make them a little more competitive, we're going to give them war bows or long bows. We have more big blocks of infantry. And then we have some cavalry. Over here, we have a much smaller Sci-Fi force. So we have some infantry, and what we would consider, say, two companies of infantry. And you can see they're split up into multiple bases, and we'll talk about that in a bit more in just a moment. We have two small tanks, and we're using these as basically as transport. So each of these also contains two of those bases. And then we have what we're considering a medium tank. So obviously this is a much smaller force against a much larger force. I don't really know what's going to happen here. If this were, say, a black powder army versus versus the Normans, I would give the Normans the overwhelming edge simply because of numbers. Once the Normans would get into hand-to-hand combat, it would basically be game over. Though at this point, these Sci-Fi, even the infantry, they're armored up. They're not walking around in just their underwear here. So they have some pretty good heavy combat armor. So. Anyway, let's get into some of the difference between the two, and really some of the considerations that we have to take into account when we're dealing with two different genres like this. All right, so the first big difference really is just the tactical unit size. So when we're dealing with, say, like a historical army or fantasy or black powder, the smallest tactical unit size we have is a company. So this 60 by 30 millimeter base represents a single company of about 100 soldiers. We go to something like World War II and Sci-Fi, that tactical unit size gets broken down. And so now, instead of one big base, we're breaking that down into 4 smaller bases to represent that company. And they can all work off the same order, or if I want these 3 to operate under one order and this one to operate on, go do something else, that's perfectly fine. There is some coherency required. That for the most part, it's whether or not it's more, the coherency is more determined by your ability to determine or to keep track of where they are, on the battlefield. So even if he gets separated, even though he's part of this company, he's now going to operate under a separate order, because he could be on the other side of the table, from these guys, and it gets a little difficult to operate on the same order at that point. So you'd give them one order, give him a separate order. If they're close enough together and you can determine who is who, then you can just operate under one order. It works perfectly fine. The second consideration we have is how we're dealing with armor when we get into, say, World War II and Sci-Fi. When we're dealing with, say, fantasy and historical, the highest armor we have is represented with Class 3 armor, and that's basically like plate. So this is the armor that your highly trained knights, the ones who were who could afford the armor, who were trained to use the armor. That's what they would be running around in. Though even that is nothing compared to the, what even I'd say a World War II, tank would have in regard to armor. Now we couldn't just simply make the defense value of the armor go up, because if they're running around say in plate, and that gives them that would give them a defense of 7, what would the tank have? The tank would have a much higher number. The numbers really just get too high to deal with. So how we handle the disparity there is that we classify some of these vehicles as heavy vehicles. So this tank, for example, it's classified as heavy. And all that really means is, in order to damage something that's classified as heavy, the weapon that's attacking it must also be classified as heavy. Now, nothing that these Normans have is classified as heavy. So rules as written, there's nothing that the Normans have that could actually damage this tank. So this tank could be on the field by itself and run roughshod through the Normans. And that's how we're going to play it today, because that's basically the reality of the situation. Now, if you don't like that rule, if you want to allow your archers or your spearmen to damage the tank, you're free to ignore that rule. But that's how we're going to play it today. All right, we're going to get started with turn 1. The first thing you do in every turn is you issue orders. We already have orders issued face down to all of our units. You issue them face down, that way your opponent just can't see what's going on. Next thing we do is we go for initiative. Now initiative is normally it's normally based upon your general's command. Now we're not using generals here in this little quick demo. So instead we're just going to roll 2d10 for each side, and we're looking for successes. A success is anytime you roll a 6 or a more. Whoever has the most successes simply wins initiative. All right, so we go for the Normans. They have an 8 and a 6, so that's 2 successes. Sci-Fi, a 3 and a 5, no successes. So the Normans are going to go first. Now we're going to treat the Normans as completely oblivious to what's going on. We all know that the Sci-Fi army here is going to greatly outrange the Normans, and will be opening up with their guns on the very first turn. The Normans have no idea. They have no concept of what a tank is, or what a rifle is, or what have you. So initially they're just going to kind of march across the battlefield as if they were facing any other army of their era. So we'll activate this unit first. We flip the token. And I should stop and say, by the way, we're now in the reveal orders and movement phase. So after initiative, we do reveal orders and movement. And that simply means each player takes turns flipping over a unit's order token. And if that token allows movement, or if that order allows movement, then you move the unit now. So this unit has march orders, which means they can move up to their quick pace, which is their move times 2. Their move is 5. That means they can go 10 centimeters. So we'll move them 10 centimeters. Then we'll go over to the Sci-Fi. We're going to activate these light transports. And we gave them charge orders. So with charge orders, you can go up to 3 times. Fix them a little bit. With charge orders, you can go up to 3 times your move. Their move is 7. That means with charge orders, they can go 21 centimeters. So they are going to move right along. And you can see that I'm treating these transports as one unit. They're close enough together, and I can easily tell them apart as far as whether or not they should be activating as a single unit. Again, if one is here and one was on the other side of the table, I wouldn't necessarily do that. Though in this case, since they're close enough together, we can treat them as a single unit. Go back to our Normans. They will march up. our medium tank. It's not very fast. It has a move of 5. I also gave it charge orders. That means it can move 15 centimeters. So they're really just going to move straight ahead. They're not going to do any kind of fancy maneuvering. They're just going to move as quickly as possible. All right, I'll move these archers up. Now we go back to our infantry here. And I gave the infantry charge orders. Now their move is 5, so that means they can move 15. Now if you've watched any other demos, one thing you've seen me do when we're dealing with, say, like these Normans who are in these packed, dense formations, if they move at that charge pace, and again, a charge is basically a run, and it's extremely difficult to stay in these nice formations if the soldiers are running, if the combatants are running. So in our rules, if a unit, so like these Normans, if they move at a charge pace and they don't come into contact with an enemy, there's a chance that unit becomes disorganized. You have soldiers just who aren't where they're supposed to be within the formation. When we're dealing with sci-fi and World War II, that changes, because by this point in warfare, everyone's basically a skirmisher. There is no more, at least soldiers like this, they're not going to be in those nice, packed shoulder-to-shoulder formations. They are spread out, so there's not really a formation too much to lose. It's not literal. I mean, obviously you're supposed to be in a certain spot, even when you're in more of like a skirmishing or loose formation, though it's not like it is with these guys over here. So with all that said, what it really means is when you're dealing with skirmishing units, it includes the sci-fi infantry. If they're given a charge order and they move that charge pace and they don't meet the enemy, there's no risk of becoming disorganized. All right, let's move some more Normans. And our last unit of sci-fi, I'm going to move up. I guess I forgot to turn off my phone over there. It's all right. All right, so we have no more units of sci-fi to activate, so now it's just moving the remainder of the Normans. Now I did, because I want to demonstrate this, when I was just talking about regarding moving at that charge pace with these formations. So we have these knights, they're moving at a charge pace, and they did not come into contact with an enemy. I'm just going to go ahead and move both of these, and then I'll demonstrate that rule. So both these units of knights moved at a charge pace without actually coming into contact with an enemy. And that just simply means that there's a chance they could lose their formation. And the way we do that is a command check. Now normally for both units this is 2d10, though these knights have a special ability called Discipline, and that just gives them a bonus dice to checks like this. So all we're looking for is one success, a success being a 6 or more. So for the first unit there, I rolled a 4, 6, and a 9. So that's a pass, because I only needed one of those to be a 6. The second unit, another pass, a 2, a 9, and a 9. If either of them had failed, then that unit would be issued a token that's called Disorganized. And that just represents a bit of loss of cohesion within the unit. Now, reveal orders of movement is complete. And reveal orders of movement, that phase is complete after all units have had their order flipped and the unit has been moved. So after reveal orders and movement, we go on to combat. Combat takes place over 4 phases. The first are units that have first missile orders, then those that have march orders that also have missile weapons. Then we go on to hand-to-hand combat, and then we go on to units with second missiles. I'm going to pause here and talk about something that I probably should have brought up earlier in the video, and that's an ability that we have that's called independent weapon. An independent weapon is an ability that allows you to separate the weapon from the, say, the vehicle or the mount. Now this is an ability that you would usually see with, say, like this heavy tank. You would see it with chariots and maybe highly trained horse archers. So let's kind of give an example just so we can a little better understand the context. This tank here, we're under the assumption that it's not one operator in that tank. There's somebody who's piloting the tank, probably somebody who's taking care of little maintenance tasks, somebody who's probably sighting the weapon, maybe somebody who's loading the weapon, somebody who's firing the weapon. So there's multiple operators in that tank. So we don't need to rely upon one person or one operator. One person can be piloting the tank, another can be shooting the guns. So that's really what independent weapon is. Now, normally, if a unit has charge orders, that unit is not actually allowed to shoot. So these archers over here, for example, if I had given them charge orders, since they don't have independent weapon, they would not be able to cast their arrows. The tank, since it has independent weapon, even though it was given charge orders, it can still shoot. Now, the phase in which the weapon shoots depends upon the weapon. If it's a weapon that would normally be allowed to be used in first missiles, then it goes off in first missiles. If it's a weapon that normally is allowed to go off in second missiles, then it goes off in second missiles. So we're going to start here with the transports. They have auto ballistic rifles, and again, even though they were given charge orders, they have independent weapon attached to their auto ballistic rifles, and auto ballistic rifles are normally allowed to go off in first missiles, so they're going to go ahead and shoot. Now the range on these is pretty significant at 75 centimeters. A short range is 18, so well within range. They're just going to take some shots at these Normans here. At this range, the armor, or the defense rather, of the Normans is going to be reduced by 2. That's just because of the armor piercing from the transports. So the transports roll 2 dice when they attack. Normally the Norman's defense is a 6, so because of the armor piercing, it's going to go down to a 4. That just means I need 4 or more to succeed. I rolled a 9 and a 3, so that is that's 1 hit. Now the Normans have to make a casualty check. The casualty check number is 5 plus the number of successes I had when the transports attacked. They had 1 success. That means the casualty check number I need here is a 6. So 5 plus 1, 6. I rolled a 10 and a 5, so that's a success. The second transport attacks. And we got 2 successes with a 5 and a 5. And again, they passed. They rolled a 10 and a 6 on their casualty check. So both these transports shot, and they both did not affect the Normans here. The heavy tank here has 2 weapons. It has that same auto ballistic rifle. It also has a medium energy cannon. The energy cannon requires second missiles. And we're saying second missiles for the energy cannon just because we're saying it takes a little more time for them to charge up and get ready. So it's going to go ahead and fire its its auto ballistic rifle now. So we're going to roll 2 dice for the auto ballistic rifle for the medium tank, and it's going to shoot at the archers here. Now the archers, they're not in a skirmishing formation. They could be, which would give them better defense. So in this case, they are not. So they are otherwise wearing no armor, which means the rifle only needs a 2 or more to hit. So that's 2 successes. So my casualty check here is a 7. And I failed. I rolled a 1 and a 3 in that casualty check. Now, normally when you fail a casualty check, the unit that failed is simply issued a break token, and that represents a loss of morale, some fatigue, stress, injury, a combination of factors. However, in this case, I failed the casualty check, but I also rolled the weapon's kill number. Every weapon has a kill number associated with it. The more lethal the weapon, the higher that kill number. When you fail a casualty check, if any of the dice you roll is equal to or lower than that kill number, then you don't get issued a break token. Instead, one of the bases is just removed completely from the game as a casualty. So the kill number on that rifle is a 2. Since I rolled a 1 here, which is equal to or lower than that kill number, then I simply remove one of the bases. All right. The Normans have no first missiles, obviously. We're going to march. Let's see if anyone's within range. The tank is just out of range. Those bows have a range of 35 centimeters. The tank is just out of range. So they're not casting their missiles with march. We have no hand-to-hand. Let's go on to second missiles. Second missiles, the tank here has their energy cannon. So it's going to fire that now. And I messed up a little early. I should have been rolling more dice than what I rolled earlier, but that's okay. I'm not going to go back and fix that now. So at this range, they should have been rolling an extra dice. So when they did those earlier attacks, I just messed up. So I'm not going to go back and fix it. Going forward, I'll just do it correctly here. So instead of rolling 2 dice here at this range, they should be rolling 3 dice. If this tank was closer, he'll be rolling 4 dice. So instead, he's just going to be rolling 3 dice. Again, they have no armor, so we only need 2s. I've got 2 successes. I've rolled a 7 and an 8. So my casualty check number here for those archers is a 7. And I passed. I rolled a 3 and a 7. So no damage done. At least no further damage done. All right, we're on the end of the turn. Normally, at this point, we would be removing breakpoints, but we have none issued. So turn is over. It's going to turn 2. Okay, we're going to pick up at turn 2. Again, I already have the orders issued, so we're just going to go into initiative. The Normans have a 6 and a 1, so that's 1 success. Sci-Fi, we have a 9 and a 2. So they both have 1 success, though the Sci-Fi has the highest individual die roll, a 9 versus a 6. So the Sci-Fi is going to go first. All right, so to start things off here, I'm going to activate these transports, and I issued them change formation. So anytime we have a unit that's carrying troops and they want to disembark, we give that unit a change formation order. The unit does not move, but instead its troops could simply just come off the field. Or, I'm sorry, come out of the transports. So we'll pop them out. Now they don't actually move at this point. The change formation just represents the units taking, or the infantry just taking a few moments to disembark from the transports. All right, so we'll go back to the Normans now. We're going to march forward. Now, normally it may be smarter to maybe get them a little bit closer, I don't know, before they unload. But what they see a lot of guys, because this, I know it's, there's a level of abstraction here, but what you're really seeing is, 100 versus 400 here. So there's still, and then you got 400 more coming behind them. So there's still a massive numerical superiority here. So basically the Sci-Fi army at this point is figuring, we just need to start, focusing some firepower. We need to lay as much firepower as we can here before they get any closer. That's why I went ahead and just disembarked them now. All right, the tank is going to move over this way. The other Normans are going to move up. All right, they're going to march forward, not too much. They could go 10. I'm just going to move them 5. The archers, we allow pre-measuring. Okay, we do allow pre-measuring. So the archers, they can look, are they within range? They are not within range. So we're going to go ahead and move up a little bit, just so we can put some arrows into these guys. So the other infantry here, they are going to start moving up, just so, again, so they can get some more firepower going. Normans. I forgot to flip his order. That's all the Sci-Fi, so we're just going to go ahead and move the rest of the Normans now. And again, I'm going to move both of these knight units, mounted knights. Though I did the same thing, so I moved them to the charge order, and they did not come into contact with an enemy. So let's see if they pass this disorganized check. A 2, a 7, and a 9. All I needed 1 6 or more. That's a success. The second unit, again, we have a 9 and 10, so that's another success. So both of them passed their disorganized checks. Okay, first missiles. We're going on to combat now. Review orders and movements done. We're going on to combat. We're going to go on to first missiles. So none of the units are explicitly issued first missiles, though we do have independent weapon we can use. So these transports are going to shoot first, and we assume that the tanks are high enough where they have some line of sight over, and the infantry is skirmishing. They're kind of spread out, so line of sight's not really a problem there. Let's check our range. Should be well out of short range still. Yeah, well out of short range, but within range all the same. So we're going to roll 3 dice this time. I'm not going to forget the extra dice this time. That makes a big difference. And again, I need 4s. So here's the first transport. That's 2 successes. I got 1 5 and 1 7. Oops. And I only need 4s. So when you're in combat, the number that you're rolling to attack is based upon the opponent's defense. So in this case, their defense is a 4. So it's 2 successes. So I need a 7 on the casualty check. I pass with a 3 and an 8. The second transport, that's 3 successes with a 5, a 7, and a 9. So I need an 8 this time on the casualty check. And again, I pass with a 2 and a 9. So these Normans are holding out pretty well. Let's go over to the tank, and it's going to shoot at the cavalry. It sees the cavalry kind of rounding the corner. Again, well out of short range. So I get 3 dice, and the Knights have a little better defense. Normally it's a 7, though the armor piercing at this range is going to drop that down to a 5, so I need 5s to hit. That's a 6, a 7, and a 10, so that's 3 hits. And the 10, anytime you roll a 10 when you're attacking, that's an automatic breakpoint. That's a critical. That's an automatic break. So the unit that was being attacked automatically receives a break token and still must make its casualty check. So it's an 8 I need. Now roll a 7 and an 8, so they still pass it. All right, that's it for first missiles. We're going to go on to march orders. These archers here can actually do something now. They are within range of this infantry, so they're going to cast their arrows at the infantry. And this is still highly armored, sci-fi infantry. They're wearing, exoskeletons or power armor or, heavy-duty combat armor, however you want to phrase it. Heavily armored still. So their defense is a 10, which means these archers, when they're attacking, they need 10s to hit. So again, combat attack rolls are done by company. There's 3 companies here, so we're doing 3 attack rolls. Each of them is rolling 3 dice. None of those are 10s, so that's no successes. The second, no 10s, and the third, no 10s. So they did nothing. That's it for March. We have no hand-to-hand. Let's go on to, I'm sorry, that is not it for March. Sorry. I forgot we have all of them now on march orders. Again, well within range. They have auto ballistic rifles. And what we're going to say he can't draw a line of sight, though the rest of them can. So we're going to say these 4 are just they're going to shoot their rifles at those archers there. So they are rolling 2 dice. Defense is only a 2 for those archers. So here's the first base. 5 and a 9, that's 2 successes. So my casualty check is a 7. Passed. The second, 2 successes. And we're referring to these basically as platoons. Okay, so one base here is a company, one base here referring to as platoons. So again, I failed the casualty check that time. The kill number for those rifles is a 2, and I rolled a 4 and a 2. So that's another casualty for the archers. The third platoon, 2 more successes. That's a failure on the casualty check, but they didn't roll the kill number, so they just receive a break token this time. And the third, I keep forgetting this extra dice. Jeez, I don't know what's wrong with me today. They should be rolling 3 dice again. I keep forgetting this. We'll fix it this time. So 3 successes here. And again, that's a failure. So I really messed up by not rolling all those dice, but that's what happens when you're not paying attention sometimes. So they get another break token there. Let's see, we're going to say this one is also going to shoot there. And then these 2 are going to shoot at the infantry here. Ooh, that's a really bad roll. 1, a 2, and a 2. Still 2 successes since they have no armor. So I need a 7. And I pass with a 1 and a 10. Okay. All right, so we have 2 more platoons that are going to shoot at the infantry here. Their armor is being reduced, or their defense is reduced down to a 4, which means I need 4s. There's a 10, so that's an automatic break. And we got 3 successes. My casualty check here is an 8. I pass with a 9 and a 10. The second platoon, 3 more successes. So I need an 8, and again I roll another 10. So really the armors are faring pretty well here. All right, last phase combat is second missiles. So we have the energy cannon here on the tank, and it's gonna continue to shoot at those knights who are incoming. So this energy cannon has some pretty severe armor piercing capability. So the knights, they normally have a defense of 7, though the energy cannon also has a armor piercing of 7. Which means it's going to reduce the knights down to their base defense of 2. A unit's defense can never be below its base defense. So rolling my 3 dice, not forgetting my 3 dice this time, and I don't know, actually am I in short range now? Of course not. Nope. So 3 dice, and I need 2s. Not a good roll. Well, I guess it could be worse. I rolled a 1 and a 9 and 9, so that's 2 successes. So the knights need a 7 on their casualty check, and I got a 6 and a 9. So the Normans are faring pretty well here with their casualty checks. All right, so that's the end of the turn. We're going to, one of the things we do at the end of the turn is units have a chance to rally off breakpoints they have. So this is units kind of regaining some of their, maybe some of their, maybe loss. They've regained some of the morale. It's, the unit's leader kind of, rallying the unit, getting them to move forward. Injured soldiers who are maybe kind of rotated to the rear, what have you. So this is basically just our rally mechanic. So each unit makes a command check. Every success removes a token. So typically with command checks, you just need 1 success, and this is a case where the more successes you have, the better. So roll for the archers, a 10 and a 4, so that's 1 success, so they remove 1 token. The infantry here, a 3 and a 10, so they remove theirs. And the knights, they would get a bonus dice because they're disciplined, but they passed anyway, so they remove theirs. So the Normans are actually faring pretty better here, much better than I anticipated, though. I think at this point we're going to start having much more firepower coming onto them. So I think you're going to start seeing the Normans start disintegrating pretty well here in the next turn. Okay, we're going into turn 3. We have all of our orders issued. Let's roll initiative. The Normans, wow, 2 10s. The Sci-Fi, no successes. So the Normans are going first. We'll flip the archers here. They have first missiles. So they're going to go first missiles. The infantry here, also first missiles. So their first missiles, a unit that has first missiles is not allowed to move. So basically all we do in the reveal orders of movement phase is flip their token. They don't move, and we're not attacking yet, so they just basically sit there. Let's go back to the Normans. March. They will dutifully march ahead. And at this point, they really haven't had too much to fear from the Sci-Fi guys. They're not really doing all that much, but I think that's going to change. Charge orders on these transports. So they are going to, let's say they'll move around there, then move up a little bit. Get the same thing. We'll move these Normans up from behind. First missiles for that infantry. We're going to continue moving these knights at a charge pace. They're knights. They don't really understand that they are going to be completely useless against that tank. And we're just going to move the tank a little bit. I gave it charge orders, but it's not really going to move. The knights are much closer. It doesn't need to get any closer than what it is. So these others, and I need to make the I need to go ahead and make that command check for both of these to see if they become disorganized. So I need barely passed. 2, a 4, and a 10. So he did pass. The second also passed. So now they're disorganized. I'm going to move this infantry like so. They're going to basically help protect the flank here against the incoming knights. So they have march orders. And infantry moving forward, the Normans. And I'm going to go ahead and move this other Norman unit forward since there are no more Sci-Fi units to activate. And that's it for reveal orders of movement. Let's go on to combat. First the first phase is first missiles. The Normans have a unit with first missiles, and they won initiative, so they are going first. These 2 companies of archers are going to cast their arrows at that infantry. So they are rolling 3 dice, and they need 10s. Because this is really, really well armored infantry. No successes. The second company, well, we have a 10, so that's a hit at least. That's a break point. So we are rolling our casualty check. The infantry. I only had 1 success. I only needed a 6, and boom, barely got it. There's a 6. So they actually got a break point, but that was it. So that's it for them. Let's go over to now. Let's activate a unit with the Sci-Fi, and they're going to activate several here because the Normans have no one else on first missile. So I'm just going to kind of go down the line here. Independent weapon with these transports, and I think I'm still out of short range. Oh no, I am within short range now. Okay, so at short range they get 2 dice, 2 extra dice, and the armor piercing goes up a bit more. So now I'm rolling 4 dice, and I need 3s to hit. So here's the first transport. That's 3 successes, so I need an 8. Passed with a 9. The second transport, there's a 10. So that's a break point. Oops. And I got 4 successes overall, so I need a 9. Wow, and again I passed. Wow, the Normans are rolling exceptionally well with their casualty checks today. 4 platoons of infantry now are going to fire on first missiles. The same thing, at this range they are rolling 4 dice, and they need 3s. It's 4 successes, so a 9, and I failed, and I rolled the kill number, so they lose an entire base. The second company, or platoon rather, is attacking. That's 4 more successes, so I got another 9, and again I failed, an 8 and a 1 on the casualty check, so that's another kill. So it's another base gone. The third platoon, 3 successes that time. I rolled a 6, a 6, and a 7, so I need an 8 on the casualty check. And I passed that time, I got a 10. And the fourth platoon, oops, I forgot the other dice. I rolled a 1, so whatever. But I did roll a 10, so that's a break point. And my casualty check here is a 7. I only got 2 successes that time. I rolled 2 1s. And they passed with a 6 and a 9. So they're, wouldn't say holding firm, but they are still there. So let's go over here. They're done, so I'm just going to move them away. This unit. So we have some options here. My preference in these situations is to kind of pour firepower on. So that's what's going to happen here. They are all within long range, so we're rolling 3 dice. So we got 4 more are just going to pour their firepower onto here. So I'm rolling 3 dice, and I need 4s for my attack. That's 2 successes, so their casualty check is a 7. Ooh, gosh. Again, I failed, and again, I rolled the kill number. I rolled a 4 and a 1, so that's, again, a failure. And I rolled the kill number again, so that's another base is gone. Like I said, now, I think I said before the turn began, I thought that at this point that you would see the Normans begin to kind of melt away, and that's exactly what's happening here. The second platoon, that's a 10, so that's an automatic break point, and I got 2 successes, so I need a 7, and I passed. There's a 9. The third, nope, there's another 10, and we got 2 successes, so I need a 7. Well, and I roll a 2 and a 1. So again, that is a failure and a kill. So that entire unit just got annihilated. A note here, well, actually a couple things. So first off, this unit, they saw all their, basically, comrades here, allies, getting taken off as casualties. When that happens, the unit, any friendly units that are within 10 centimeters and have line of sight must make a command check. If they fail, they receive 2 break tokens themselves. Again, just kind of as a loss of morale. So we're going to make that check. I should have made it earlier, but I passed a roll 7 and 8, so they're okay. Now, removing bases like this, it's not necessarily representation that every single combatant or soldier in that unit was shot down. Obviously there were some casualties there. Great many more basically probably just breaking and running. So it's not necessarily, even though we're calling it a casualty check, it's still a combination of casualties, units that are soldiers that are injured, I mean, injuries or casualties, and also some that are just fleeing from the battle. All right, so they're done. First missiles here with the tank. At this range, it's going to roll 4 dice, and it's going to reduce the knight's armor down to a 4, so I need 4s. That's 3 successes, so the knights need an 8, and there's a 10, so they passed. All right, that is it for first missiles. We're going to go to March, and the only ones that have march orders that have missile weapons is this unit here. They are going to, let's say, these 2 are going to shoot at the that infantry there. These 2 are going to shoot at the knights. They're all well out of short range. So I'm rolling 3 dice. I need 4s here. That's 3 successes. So their casualty check is an 8. I pass with a 5 and a 9. The second platoon attacks. That is only 1 success that time. There's an 8. So I need a 6 or more. And well, I failed that one, of course. The easier one I fail. 2 4s. So that's a break point there. 2 more platoons are going to shoot at the incoming knights. Their armor is now being reduced to a 5. So I need 5s for my attack roll. There's a 10, so that's a break point. And got 3 successes overall. So my casualty check here is an 8. And I failed. There's a 7 and a 1. So one of the knights is gone. The second platoon. Ugh, that's a bad roll. A 1, and a 3. So I don't know what they're shooting at. It obviously wasn't the knights. So they are gone. All right, that's it for March. Second missiles, we have the energy cannon there on the tank. So it's going to shoot at the knights. At this range, it's rolling 4 dice, and it's effectively completely negated the knight's armor, so I need 2s to hit. And that's going to be 4 successes. There's an 8. 2 8s rather, a 9 and a 10, so there's a break point. And the knights need a 9 on their casualty check. Look at that, they passed. There's a 9, so that's all they needed. All right, let's try to, that's the end of the turn for combat rather. Let's try to rally out some of these break points. We'll do the archers here. 2 5, so they do not remove any. The infantry, they remove theirs. The knights, they have 2 tokens and they get a bonus dice because they're disciplined, and they only passed 1, so they only get rid of 1. And the infantry back here, they passed, so they got rid of theirs. All right, that is it for turn 3. Okay, we're going to go on to turn 4. I apologize, there's a little bit of noise behind me. It's kind of laundry day, so wife is doing a bit of laundry. So let's go on to turn 4. Let's go on to initiative. The Normans, we have a 2 and a 5. That's no successes. The Sci-Fi, 2 and a 2. So again, no successes, but the Normans did roll the higher individual number, so they're going to go first. So we'll activate the archers here with first missiles. They don't move. Go over to our Sci-Fi. We'll activate the transport with first missiles. They're not going to move. Activate this infantry. They're going to march forward, even though at this point they probably would have said no thank you and just left the field. We're going to kind of play this out a little bit. They have first missiles. They're not going to move. Now the knights, you know, they're knights. They're going to charge forward here. They have well enough to reach. The presence of the 2 units is the same. This is a total presence of 4. That tank has a presence of 4. So there's no rolls involved to see if the knights will charge in. Everything is fine. However, as they're charging in, the tank does get to make a response. In this case, the response is, since they have that auto ballistic rifle, which can shoot on first missiles, they're going to shoot at the knights as they're coming in. So that's 4 dice, and the knight's armor is being reduced down to a 4. That is 3 successes, so I need an 8 on the casualty check here for the knights. And of course I passed with a 1 and a 10. So the knights kind of complete the charge. Yeah, again, it's stupid, but hey, we're going to do it anyway. I'm going to flip here, first missiles. Yeah. They moved at that charge pace and they met an enemy, so they're not making that disorganized check. I need to state that here. The other unit of knights, they're going to kind of wheel around a little bit. Here's their command check or disorganized check, since they did not contact the enemy. Ooh, they barely passed. There's 1 6. That's all they needed. More first missiles. So at this point, you can see the Sci-Fi army, apart from the tank, is really just making a defensive line. All right, this infantry here, they're going to go there, and this unit is basically just going to move over this way a bit. All right, that's it for review orders of movement. Let's go on to combat. First missiles. The Normans won. Again, the archers are just going to cast their arrows over here. They need 10s to hit. No successes for the first company. The second company, again, no successes. So those arrows aren't going to do much against that armor. It's going to be very difficult. Let's go over to the Normans now. The Normans are going to have a lot of units on first missiles. So we'll start here with the transports, shooting at this unit of infantry, and I wouldn't be surprised if this infantry, again, just like the ones that were in front of it, are going to disappear completely at this point. So I'm rolling 4 dice, and their armor is being reduced down to a 3 at this range. Ooh, it's a bad roll though. So only 2 successes, so I need 7s. Well, there's a 5 and a 1, so it's a failure. And I rolled the kill number, so another unit is gone. The second transport, that's 3 more successes, so an 8. And you know, the Normans, they're either passing their casualty checks or they are failing horribly. There's not a whole lot in between today. So again, I failed. I rolled a 6 and a 1. So that's a failure on the casualty check. And again, I rolled the kill number. So this is a little unusual. Usually you see much more in between with units failing and just receiving break tokens. Just today, for whatever reason, the dice gods are saying that the Normans are either going to completely pass or they're going to completely fail. There's not much in between for them today. So that's it for the transports. Again, the Normans have no one else on first missile, so we're just going to complete all the Sci-Fi. We'll go with this unit. Again, 3s. There's 2 successes, so I need a 7. Hey, I failed, but I didn't get a kill that time. I rolled a 6 and a 3, so that's a failure, but I did not roll the kill number, so that's just a break token. The second platoon, there's a 10, so that's a break point, and 3 successes, so I need an 8. Passed. Here is the third platoon. That's another 10, so it's another break point. And we got 4 successes that time, so I need a 9. Passed. And the 4th platoon. Another breakpoint. Wow. And 3 successes, so I need an 8. And they passed with a 2 and a 9. So actually that time was probably a little better representation of what we typically see with combat, in that units are much more likely, when they do fail a casualty check, much more likely to simply receive a break token rather than being outright killed. We've seen a lot of outright kills today, which is a little unusual. So what we just actually saw here was probably a little better representation of what transpires in combat. Anyway, that's it for that unit. So we're going to do these next. So here we have some options. So we can see that this unit here has 4 break tokens. Now the number of break tokens a unit can have is basically equal to its presence. And at this point, this unit only has a presence of 2. Each base of infantry gives a presence of 1. Since there's 2 bases there you have a total presence of 2. If I had only 1 token, they would basically be okay. If they had 2 tokens, they would be close. They're basically wavering at that point. The unit, if they were engaged in hand combat, they could attack. If they had missile weapons, they could cast their missiles. But however, they could not actually advance. Now with 4, they're in bad shape. At the end of this turn, if they don't get down to 2 or more, or 2 or less, the unit is either going to retreat or it's just going to break and run from the table completely. So when I'm activating this unit here, I have some options. I can see they're close to breaking. Do I go ahead and put a bit more into them, or do I just go ahead and start shooting another unit to try to get them down? I like getting rid of units. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take these 2 platoons and shoot there, and these 2 to shoot there. I'm going to try to get, if I can get 1 more break token on them, then I'm guaranteed that they're either going to retreat or fall back. So that's what I'm going for here. So first here, I need 3s. Well, there it is. There's a 10. So that's another break token. That's what I needed. And I got 3 successes overall, so their casualty check is an 8. Well, and I failed anyway. So there's a 3 and a 2. So that's a failed casualty check with a kill. The second platoon, that's not a good roll. 2 8s and 2 1s. That's a little unusual. So that's 2 successes. So I need a 7 on the casualty check. And I passed with a 4 and a 7. So now they're in really bad shape because now their presence for this unit's only a 1. So at the end of this turn, they are going to they will get a chance to rally a couple of those off. Though regardless, they're either retreating or they're routing from the battle, completely. So we have 2 more platoons shooting here, and they are rolling 3 dice at this range, and their armor is a 4, so I need 4s for the attack roll. There's 2 successes, including a critical, so I need a 7. Well, gosh, again, it's either all or nothing here today. A 6 and a 1, so that's a failure and a kill. So take another one off the board. And the second platoon, 3 successes with 3 8s. I won't see that again for a long time. So I need an 8. And I failed with a 5 and a 7. So that's a break point. All right, we're going to go to this unit, and we have a unengaged company of knights, so they're all just going to pour their fire on this company of knights, and they're probably going to be gone. So that's 4 dice, it's going to reduce their armor down to 4. That's not a good roll. So that's 2 successes, so I need a 7. Passed. The second platoon. It's a really bad roll. Only 1 success out of all that. So I only need a 6 here. And they passed. The third platoon. Well, again, only 1 success. A 1, a 1, a 3, and a 4. Wow. I opened my mouth and said they've probably gone, and here and now these guys can't hit anything. So only 1 success. Only need a 6 or more, and I passed. And the fourth platoon, a little bit better. 3 successes that time, so I need an 8, and I failed. 6 and a 7, so it's a break point. All right, so that is it for them. Now we're going to go on to hand combat. So hand combat here is simultaneous. So even if one of these is removed as a casualty during the course of the fight, it still gets attacked if it hasn't actually attacked. So let's kind of go back to my earlier point. This tank is classified as heavy. These knights they're not classified as heavy, so they actually cannot damage this tank. Now normally they would be rolling quite a bit of dice here. Normally they'd be rolling 6 dice, and the defense of the tank really isn't spectacularly high. It's only at 10, but it's classified as heavy. So even if the Normans attack, I didn't roll any 10s, but let's just say I happen to roll a 10 there, it wouldn't matter, just because if they're not heavy, they can't damage a heavy vehicle. So regardless of what the Normans do, they're not actually going to be able to damage that tank. So, and again, you know that, and I know that, but the Normans didn't know that, right? They're knights, and they're like, hey, we can take down this this dragon or whatever they think it is, but it didn't really work out for them. So the tank's going to attack back. I mean, it's not really a hand-to-hand vehicle, so it doesn't really get all that many dice to roll. But there's a critical regardless, so there's a 10. The casualty check on the knights is a 7, and they passed. So okay. We'll go on to second missiles, and the heavy the energy cannon here on that tank can still fire, even though it's in hand-to-hand. It's an independent weapon, so we're allowing that to happen. So 4 dice, and we only need at this range we only need 2s. There's another critical, so it's another break point, and 4 overall successes. So the knights need a 9, and they failed with a 6 and an 8. So it's not a kill, but it's another break point. All right, that's it for combat. Let's go on to the end of the turn. So again, the first thing we do is we rally. So let's rally this infantry here. It doesn't really matter because they have so many breakpoints that regardless of what happens, they're either going to retreat or they're going to rout. But again, we'll kind of go through it just so you can see. So we try to rally first. Roll a 2 and a 7, so that's 1 success, so that allows them to remove 1. However, they still have 4 breakpoints, and their presence is only a 1. So now they make another command check. If they pass this check, the unit retreats. If they fail, they rout from the table completely. So let's see what happens. A 2 and a 3. A success being a 6 or more. They rolled a 2 and a 3. That's a failure, so they are picked up. They are gone. Archers, they have 1 break token. They do not remove it. Infantry here, they have 2. They get rid of 1. Now the knights are in a similar situation to the infantry. Each base of knights is a presence of 2. So they have a total presence of 4, but they have 5 tokens. So they need to get rid of some of these. Now their disciplined ability gives them an extra dice when rolling to remove break tokens. So there's a good chance that they're going to get rid of it. You know, they should get rid of at least one of these. I mean, if they don't get at least one, then that's just a really, really bad roll. Let's see what happens. 3, a 6, and an 8. So that they got rid of 2. So they're in okay shape. All right, that is the end of the turn. Let's go on to the turn 5. All right, turn 5. I may make this the last turn. We'll just kind of see how it goes. So really what we have here is the Sci-Fi is just going to start kind of turning on the flank here of the Normans. These knights here, being knights, I guess they kind of expected their brothers in arms here to kind of roll over this tank, and they see that didn't happen. So there's going to be a lot of congestion starting here. So they're going to have to start kind of wheeling back a little bit, and then maybe they'll try to ride around the rear and take the infantry from behind, because they actually can hurt the infantry. Be difficult, but they can do it. Let's go into initiative. Normans, 10 and a 4, Sci-Fi, 9 and a 3. So the one success, but the Normans have the the highest individual roll, so they are going to activate first. So the archers here, first missiles, they don't move. They are going to move at this point, and we need to start turning their flank here. So they're going to start charging up. Here, we just need to do some reorganization of movement. So the knights really, they're too close to the tank to simply just kind of slide forward. We try to make a movement a little easier, a little freewheeling when you're far enough away from your enemies. Though at this range, they don't really have the freedom to just kind of slide over. So really, at this range, they can only move to their front or their back. So, and since they need to get over this way, they're effectively going to have to do a little wheel, like a backwards wheel. So that's what they're going to do here. They're going to stay there. They're going to stay there because they're just getting a little too congested at this point. They're going to stay. They're actually going to go ahead and slide over. March, they're going to move up a bit. Not intending to get into hand combat. Again, just kind of getting in a better position to start concentrating some fire over here. And then, knights, they don't move. And then march here, same thing. They're going to start moving upwards a bit. That is it for reveal orders of movement. Let's go on to combat. First, missiles. We have our archers still. They're going to cast some more arrows here. I need 10s. That's no successes. The second company, again, no successes. So they are done. First missiles for the Sci-Fi guys. Again, well, not as many as we did last time. But the transports still have independent weapons, so they're going to shoot at these archers. I need 2s. That's 3 successes, so I need 8s on my casualty check. And they failed with a 6 and a 2, which is the kill number. So that's another company of archers gone. The second transport, 3 successes. So again, I need 8s. Yeah, and there's a 10, so they passed that one. Let's move that off. First missiles for the tank here with their autoballistic rifle. So we've got 4 dice, and we need, at this range, we're going to need 4s. There's a break point, that's 110. But only 2 actual successes though, so that's a 7 for the casualty check. And I failed with a 3 and a 1, so that's another another company of knights gone. And I probably really should have removed that one as a casualty, but well. So they really don't have anyone else to shoot at this point with their, well, I guess actually not, I'm saying that, but they can target this infantry that way. I'd say 3 of them can draw a line of sight. So 3 of them are actually going to shoot at this infantry here. So it's 3 dice, and I need 4s to hit. 2 successes, so a 7 on the casualty check. Again, it's a day of all or nothing. 6 and a 1, so again, a failure and a kill. So take 1 off. The second platoon, only 1 success that time with a 9, so I need a 6 on the casualty check, and I passed. And the third platoon, 2 successes, so I need a 7 on the casualty check. And again, I failed with a kill, a 6 and a 2, so that's another company of infantry gone. A lot of kills today, lots and lots and lots of kills. That is it for first missiles. Let's go on to units with missile weapons that have march orders. There's none for the Normans. Sci-Fi has quite a few. These 4 are just they're gonna shoot at the archers. We're just gonna go and take them out. So it's 3 dice, I need 2s. 3 successes, so I need an 8 on my casualty check. That's a failure with a breakpoint. The second platoon, 2 successes, so I need a 7. That's another failure with a breakpoint. Third platoon, 2 successes. They passed that one, there's a 9. And the fourth platoon, 3 more successes, so an 8. And 2 10s, so they passed that one. So they actually held out against other shots. They did get a few break tokens. And so kind of an important thing here to keep in mind is that there have been a lot of kills today, more than I think we've usually seen. But again, we are using a little more lethal weapon. So even though it's only 1 point, let's say typically like a bow at short range has a kill number of 1, and a gun has a kill number of 2, even though it's only 1 point, when you're dealing with percentiles, that's a pretty big difference. So even 1 point can make a pretty big difference. So we have seen a lot of kills today. Though you don't necessarily win games by inflicting casualties, because it is not easy to do. Again, today's been unusual. There have been a lot more than we usually see. But usually you're going to win these games by inflicting break tokens, because it is our goal here is to make morale an important component of the game. And that's what these break tokens represent. Every break token that you're inflicting is representing a loss of morale. And these units can only take so many before they are removed from the game. So that's it. That's it for there. We have these, and let's see. So we're going to split up our shooting again. So these 2 are going to shoot these archers. These 2 are going to shoot at the infantry there. So we need 2s to hit. There's 2 successes, so I need a 7 on my casualty check. And there, well, that's it for those archers. There's a 5 and a 2, so they failed the casualty check, and they rolled the kill number. So the archers are gone. That's it. I already declared the second platoon was shooting at them, so they don't get to change their target subsequently. So the other 2 platoons are shooting at this infantry. See if we can get them away. I need 4s at this point. There's a 10, so that's a break token. 2 successes, so I need a 7. And again, another kill. I failed with a 6 and a 1, so again, that's another kill. All right, that's it for March. We're going to go on to hand combat. The only thing we have in hand combat is over here with the knights. And again, we know the knights can't attack, so it's an academic roll. Doesn't really matter. They can't harm the tank. The tank is going to attack back. And I just rolled really bad, a 5 and a 1. So nothing really happens there. Second missiles, the energy cannon off the tank. Going to shoot at the knights. The knights have an effective defense at this point of 2. There's a breakpoint and 4 overall successes, so I need a 9. And there's a 6 and an 8, so I fail with a breakpoint. All right, so that's the end of combat. So we're going to the end of the turn. The only unit we have with breakpoints are these knights. Now, they actually can't get rid of enough. They have 6 break tokens. Their presence is only a 2. They could get rid of 3 of these, but it's still going to be too many. But we'll roll just so you see how it works again. Now normally, again, it's 2 dice. They have Disciplined, which gives them an extra dice. And I've failed them all. So mathematically, that's really hard to do, but I did it. I rolled a 4, a 1, and a 1, so they get rid of none of those. So now they're going to make their check to see what happens. Again, if they pass this check, they retreat. If they fail, they rout. Passed. So they are going to fall back at a charge pace. So they basically go back 18 centimeters. Their friendly unit here sees what happens. So they roll as well. They passed, nothing happens. If they have failed that, they would have received some break tokens themselves. So we're going to make this the end of the game. One thing I want to point out here with these knights, so long as a unit is over their breakpoint, if they're retreating, they don't actually get an order. So on the next turn, I would not issue them any kind of order. Because at this point, they're basically, they're either continuing to move back, or at the end of the turn, again, they would try to rally some more. You know, at this point, like I just rolled, they would only get rid of 1. So again, I would roll to see if they retreat or fall back. They continue to retreat. If they retreat off the table, then they're gone as well. So if a unit is over its breakpoint value, it doesn't actually get issued an order, because at the end of the turn, it's going to go through the mechanic of rallying, and then if it still has too many, it's going to continue to retreat or just break from the battle completely. Well, that's it for our little demo of sci-fi versus, say, Dark Age or early Middle Age. You know, maybe I could have given the go up in the time scale a little bit and given the Normans some, you know, some primitive cannons or what have you. Though, you know, we see here that even a small force of sci-fi is more well than equipped to deal with a fort. I mean, this was basically, you know, 2,500 or so Normans versus, we'll say it was like about 300 infantry plus a couple of vehicles. And again, even if it was just a tank, the rules as written, there's nothing the Normans could do to actually to harm the tank. But you can see once the sci-fi deployed and really got just in a firing line, the Normans, they melted. I mean, there's nothing that armor is going to do to stop those guns. So that's it for our demo. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please let us know in the comments. You can also find us on Facebook, and you'll see the link at the end of the video. Thank you.